Hello, good afternoon. Hey, moms. Hey, ladies. How is everybody today? I hope you're all doing okay. I wanted to come on live now as opposed to 3 o'clock. I usually go live at 3 o'clock. And by the way, Carla Betzdorf here. I am admin to this group, Overcoming Anxiety for Stressed Out Moms Who've Had Enough. And I'm also a certified health and life coach who helps moms to overcome anxiety. I usually go live at 3, yes, but crazy week, yes. I mean, with the upcoming holidays, so much happening, so much going on. It was just better for me to do this right now. So, and I don't have a particular topic. I wanted to actually talk a little bit about myself, my experience with anxiety, because I get so many questions about me, and what I went through and how I overcame anxiety. You know, what did I do to overcome anxiety? And the simple question really is, the simple answer I should say is that how I overcame anxiety is everything that I do in this group. You know, everything that I teach you, everything that you hear from me is basically what I did, right? But I want to specifically just give you some details about my life story, you know, why anxiety took over my life and how I got it back and how I used that experience to help you, to get you to where I am now. And where am I now? Well, I'm not saying my life is perfect, but anxiety used to take over my life. I mean, anxiety consumed me to the point where I was not functioning at all, right? So now I am, all right? Is my life perfect? No. Am I always happy? Do I always feel exactly, 100% peaceful inside? No. But because of what I learned, okay, because of the resilience that I have now that I did not have before, the confidence I have in myself, growing my relationship with God, all these things together, I can face life in a way that I wish I knew how to do this years ago. I wish. So I'm going to start by telling you, I'm going to start from the beginning, okay? I'm going to start telling you the things that happened in my life that brought me up to my anxiety disorder, okay? So in my life, what I remember is when I was a child, okay, I went to a summer camp. And in this summer camp, there was a girl who decided one day she was going to go about and read palms. And she read my palm, took my hand and told me, Carla, you have a short life. Your palm says you have a short life. Now, I was a small child. I mean, I didn't know any better. Like, why is she telling me this? So that kind of scared me. But being a child, you have a little bit more resilience. And I kind of bounced back from that. Or at least I thought I did. It didn't consume me, but at 11, when I was 11, I'm fast forwarding some years now, I lost 3 people who were special to me. And, but I lost them like within a matter of weeks. And that really took a toll on me. That one night I was in bed and I started shaking like a leaf, like really shaking hard. And I couldn't sleep. I was sweating, shaking, crying, and I was 11. Now, you would have thought I would have like run to my parents, but I didn't. For some reason, I kept that to myself because this happened for days, at least a week. That's how I remember it. That I would have these shakes and I felt consumed with fear, and I don't know, but in the daytime, I was fine. And I would go to school like nothing happened, but at nighttime, this would happen all over again. Only happened, I want to say, for a week. And I don't remember sleeping very well either. But by the time that like next weekend came, it was gone. Like I started sleeping again and all these feelings left me. It was weird, but what stayed with me was this feeling of like a doom. I don't know how else to say it. Like I had this cloud over my head, and I always felt like something bad was going to happen to me, and I was very concerned about my health, the health of my family. I was brought up in an Italian family where, we were not quiet. There were no, Carla's in a room, be careful what you say. Nothing ever like that. It was like everyone just told their business, and whenever we all got together, which was kind of often, everyone just talked about how they felt. And I had a grandmother who was anxious and depressed. My mother was anxious and depressed, and that's all I ever heard about was her anxious and depressive feelings. I thought that this was normal. I didn't know any better. I actually thought when I grew up someday, because my grandparents were always in and out of the hospital. I just never understood why. I just thought when you get older, you get sick and you go to the hospital and you die, and so, that was scary to me, but it seemed just so normal, that I felt like that was what life was about. So I always had this feeling of doom. I can't, I couldn't, how sometimes people can picture their future. They can picture getting married and having kids. That's what I wanted, but I couldn't picture anything. For some reason, all I ever pictured was I'm going to get sick, like my grandparents, like my mom, and I'm going to, I just didn't see anything good happening to me. But then I met my now husband, and yes, we got married, and I had 2 beautiful children. But then when I was around 31, I was diagnosed with cancer. So my fears were coming true. And and then I remembered like all those things, when I was a little girl and how I was told I was going to die young, and everything that I felt, that cloud over my head. It's like that's what this is coming down to, So diagnosed with cancer. It was a very rare cancer. The doctors didn't even know really what to do with me. They had to study it and they had to research what to do for me. That's how rare it was. So that was kind of scary. Not knowing like whether I'm going to live, die, like what do I do with this? There was like no awareness. So, but it turns out I needed emergency surgery. And I got this surgery, and at first I was told, because this was happening like weeks before Christmas. This surgery, and there was so much stress, and I had to make a decision because at first I was told, enjoy your holidays, don't worry, we'll do this at the New Year, and then I got a hold of another surgeon who said, I have seen this before. It's rare, but I've seen it before. And no, you need emergency, like you need surgery now, like as soon as possible. And within that week, I got my surgery. But right after that surgery, I started having major panic attacks. Again, not so much with the shaking violently and all that, but I was in bed recovering. And I was told my recovery would take quite a while. And I remember my heart just coming out of my chest, and I'm resting in bed. And my heart's coming out of my chest like I just ran a marathon, and I could barely breathe. I remember trying so hard to take a deep breath in and catch my breath, and I couldn't. And even though I had major back surgery and I could barely move, I remember sitting up, which was almost physically impossible for me, but I did it because I had such fear and adrenaline in me. I did it. And I sat up and I'm screaming for somebody, please, somebody help me. And my mother, my husband, whoever else was in the house, I think I had a lot of people over because, I mean, I just had surgery. I had two small kids. I couldn't do anything. I physically was not capable of taking care of myself or my children or anybody. So I had a lot of people in the house, and everyone I remember came running. My husband rushed me to the hospital, and basically I was told you had a panic attack. And I was like, what? Wait, what? What is that? And then I kind of remembered, isn't that, wait a minute, didn't I have that when I was a child? But I mean, I felt it differently back then, but I had it. And I remember that fear, but the fear was kind of like the same. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, well, how do I deal with that? So I went home, and every day since then, if I didn't have a panic attack, I had very, very, very high anxiety. And that was hard because I wasn't allowed out of bed at first. And you know, when you're anxious or you're panicked, you just can't sit still. Like you want to pace around. I wasn't allowed to do that. And I physically could not do that. It was extremely hard for me. So it's no wonder why I was having panic and why I had such anxiety. What I was going through was just so much stress, so many unanswered questions, and the fact that I couldn't even take care of myself or my family. So all of this, okay, all of this that I just explained to you is what, what the anxiety into my life to that extent. It was high stress, okay, that I never dealt with. I didn't know how to deal with this stress. I just know I'm reaching a point in my life that the stress is so bad. I don't know what to do with it, and it took over everything. My thoughts, my whole body, like everything. I was consumed with it. It took me 3 months to get out of bed and to start functioning again. Okay? So when that started happening, I thought, okay, I'm out of bed, life is gonna change. I'm at least doing things now. I'm able to move now. I'm able to take care of myself, and I was starting to able to take care of my children again. I just thought, okay, things are gonna get better. Did not, because there was still so many unanswered questions, and those feelings, they didn't just turn off. My central nervous system was so turned on, like I was so consumed, okay? My fight and flight was just so revved up. I didn't know how to turn it off. So I was consumed with this for oh my gosh, well, for years. So, of course, I visited doctors. I mean, I went to doctors, and they're like, yeah, it's anxiety. Just, right away, take medication. And I was like, yeah, give it to me. Load it on. Because, I mean, I knew my mother, my sister, and other relatives were taking medications for their anxiety, and they were able to function. So if they're functioning, give it to me because I need to function. I'm taking care of these babies, and I'm finally out of bed. And I need to do things. Like, I want to get back to living my life. So I took medication, and yeah, it helped with symptoms. Like, I wasn't feeling the symptoms as much, and it helped me to function a little bit better. But guess what? I still got panic attacks, and I still felt the anxiety. Maybe not as much as I would have if I didn't have the medication in me. But what happened was, one night I went to sleep, or I tried to go to sleep. And guess what? I only slept like 4 hours. Now, I am somebody who sleeps, they say, like the dead, right? Like, I would go to sleep, and literally one day, when I lived in my parents' house, okay, my sister and I slept upstairs, and we had like a little hallway between us, and there was a fire alarm. One day that fire alarm went off. My sister woke up and like ran for her life and went to go get my parents. Come on, the fire alarm went off, and my mother turned to her and said, well, where's your sister? Didn't you wake her up? And I was sound asleep. And the next day, my mother said, didn't you hear that fire alarm? And I was like, what fire alarm? No. I slept so soundly, okay, from the time I was a baby to the time I started with insomnia. So that when I went 4 days, okay, when I went 4 hours of no sleep, I didn't think of anything at first. I just thought, okay, I got 4 hours of sleep, whatever. The next day, though, it happened again. And then the next day it happened again. And then it happened again. So when it started, I saw a pattern. And I was like, uh-oh, what's going on here? Why can't I sleep? And I started getting, really concerned about it. But the concern turned into anxiety. Why? Because I wasn't now concerned about it. It was I'm telling myself, I can't sleep, I can't sleep, I can't sleep, right? So now I'm riddled with this fear of what's going to happen to me. I can't sleep. And my mother and my husband and everyone I can talk to, because now I'm going around to people, do you have times where you can't sleep? Well, yeah, we don't all sleep 8 hours every single night. I said, yeah, but you don't understand. I always slept. I'm only sleeping 4 hours, and no matter how much I try, I can't sleep more than 4 hours, and blah, blah, blah. And I called myself what's wrong with me? So I kept saying, I got this anxiety and I'm a mom who can't sleep. Over and over, I was identifying with it. So back to the doctor, and now I'm on medication for my anxiety, I was feeling quite depressed, especially the fact that I couldn't sleep, and I'm on sleep medication, right? So, which did not work, by the way. I mean, did I sleep more hours? Absolutely not. Did not get me to sleep any more hours. So why am I taking all this medication? I mean, if this medication's not going to work, and my anxiety, my depression's getting worse and worse, right? Why am I doing this? So, and no matter what doctor I saw, no one is telling me to do anything else but to take medication. One doctor told me, detach yourself from the anxiety. Okay, how do I do that? Couldn't tell me how. Detach yourself from the anxiety, but couldn't tell me how. But tell me how to do it. I don't even know what you're talking about. What do you mean detach myself from it? It was very frustrating. Very frustrating. I just wanted to be better. I just wanted to go back to normal living. And I didn't know how to do that. And I didn't know how to get myself there. I did find one social worker who went through kind of, not with the cancer, but, had some insomnia, went through panic and anxiety, and she overcame it. I'm like, whoa, what do you mean by that? What do you mean overcame? And she's like, it just doesn't control me anymore. And she did give me some insight into how she did that. However, I could only afford to work with this woman for 10 weeks, because this was back, I think, in 2008 or 9 that I worked with her. And she was $3,000 for 10 sessions. And back then, $3,000 was so much money. And I couldn't ask my husband for more. I was afraid to not work with her anymore, but she gave me information. But see, the thing was, I had to take that information that she gave me and implement it. Okay? I didn't know quite how to do that, because although she gave me the information, I didn't really have time to understand, how do I implement all this now? She didn't really go through that with me. I had to do that on my own. So when my kids were going to school, I used that time that they were in school, because I was not working. I felt I couldn't work. How am I going to work? I mean, I could barely, I started functioning with the medication in me, but the focus was so not there. I never felt like myself again. and until I felt like myself, I wasn't going to go to work and have a job. So I wanted to overcome this. So I studied anxiety. Like, I didn't have all this internet and whatnot. I had to do it what I call the old-fashioned way. I went to the library. I got out books. I went to the bookstore, bought books. I read. I underlined. I highlighted. I studied. Okay? Like I went to college. I wanted to understand what anxiety was. I did not have that awareness, because what you'll always hear me say is you can't overcome what you don't know. And although I got some insight about what I was experiencing, I didn't really fully understand it. I wanted to understand. I wanted to know. And I did. And as I started understanding, as I also grew my relationship with God, because what my turning point is that I was told by a doctor, okay? I went to him in desperation. You know that feeling of desperation where, like, I'm at my last straw here. And if no one could do anything for me, I mean, I don't even want to say it. Like, I hit such rock bottom. And I did go to this doctor, and basically, he wrote out a prescription for more medication. All he was doing was raising my medication. That's it. And he told me, don't worry, just take it. And he opened up his office door. I remember him doing this, opening up his office door, because like his waiting room was like right there. And he pointed to all these patients. There had to be like 5 to 10 patients sitting on couches. It was like weird. And he said, see all those people? They take their medication and they're doing just fine. And I'm like, what? Because they didn't look fine. And if they're so fine, why do they keep coming to you? Shouldn't you be helping them to like overcome this? And I didn't say that to him because I was sitting there stunned. Because what he said to me just totally broke me. He told me, you're going to have this forever. He told me this is like a lifetime thing. So just take your medication and you'll be fine. Right there, just my spirit just broke. I got down on my knees. Like I was hysterical. Like I went home and I basically got down on my knees that one day, and I remember I was in my daughter's room. All my kids have a cross in their room. And I looked up at the cross. I don't know why in my daughter's room, but I went into my daughter's room, looked up at the cross, and I said, just take me now. God, I can't do this. I have no idea how to live anymore. Please, just take me. Because if this is the way my life is going to be, this is not living. I'm not living. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not living, and I don't know how to do it. Please just take me. And, well, obviously God answered me, because here I am. Every day since then, I guess the way to say it is God would talk to me. In other words, not that I heard this audible voice, but, I would read something that spoke to me, okay? Or I would talk to somebody that would make sense, you know what I'm saying? Or I would read a book, listen to music, like something would happen, or I would see a show, or something would come into my life that would, give me some kind of inspiration and some hope. And I was like, okay, that's God. That's God telling me just keep going, keep believing, keep going. It's going to happen. Keep doing what you're doing, because he gave me the means to, work with that social worker, and put all that stuff together, all those things that I was learning. I had to eventually implement, and I had to figure it out on my own how to do that, but I did. And by the grace of God, one day I noticed, hey, I'm not so consumed with this anxiety. And I started, by the way, I started coming off medication too. Because I was like, the one thing that I told myself and that I learned is if I'm going to overcome anxiety, I don't want to do it while being medicated, fully medicated. Okay? I want to feel it. I want to feel every bit of it. Feel those feelings of anxiety and not be afraid of them anymore. And the only way to do that was to come off the medication. And the only way to learn to sleep well again was to not rely on the medication to get me to sleep. Because it wasn't working anyway. So why am I putting this in my body? So I eventually just came off all medications. And I worked to overcome anxiety with like, at first, hardly any medication in me. And then no medication in me. Because I wanted to feel every part of it. So I implemented. I took everything that I learned and I did it. Like I said, to one day, I noticed, hey, all right, it's like 3:00 and wow, I didn't feel any anxiety today. But what happened was the moment that I was like, there's no anxiety, I started like looking for it. I started like anxiety, those feelings, are they there? Am I done? Are they never coming back? But then they would come back. It was a short run. It's like anxiety, the brain was starting to get, what was happening was the brain was starting to get it that she's doing something different, okay? But I wasn't quite there. And since I was looking for those feelings, it's like I was addicted to them. Like, those anxiety feelings is all I knew for years. And honestly, it's kind of like I didn't know how to be without them. So when they weren't there, it was like, where are the anxiety feelings? To the point where I'm very sure I called them up again. I made it happen, and I would make associations like, oh, the last time I was in this store, I had an anxiety attack, a bad panic attack, and then guess what? All of a sudden, I would feel these feelings and be like, okay. So I started understanding right there, like as that happened, okay? Then I understood that my mind is living in memory, okay? And I had to let go of these memories. And if I wanted to feel more of that non-anxiety existence or peace, okay, let's call it peace, I had to focus more on that peace. So I finally learned that instead of saying, hey, there's no anxiety, I would start saying, wow, the peace. Oh, I love this feeling of peace. And I would focus on feeling peace and feeling well. And that, okay, helped me to get past just feeling anxiety. Feeling that peace for a little bit and then having anxiety. Like all of a sudden, I would have more and more days of total peace. Now, of course, the anxiety would come back, especially if I was having stressful moments. But the more I practiced, okay, I understood the anxiety cycle and I practiced everything I was learning, okay? Because I tried breathing, and at first breathing didn't work for me because I was having panic attacks and I was hyperventilating. So people were like, oh, breathe. And I'm over breathing. That's what hyperventilating is. It's over breathing. So of course, when I was trying to do breathing exercises, they didn't work as well for me. But what really saved me, and for me, was working out. See, I always worked out, but I stopped working out, like going to a gym and regularly working out, because I had babies. And I used the excuse of, I am a busy mom, to not work out. But then God interfered, and I'm telling you, he interfered just I want to say a week to 2 weeks after I got down on my knees and begged him to take my life. I won a prize. I never win. Okay, I'm one of those people that, like, I could spend thousands of dollars on lotto, or doing some kind of when you put money into something and then they draw a card. I forgot what that's called, but anyway, so I went to an event, and I was just saying to my best friend who was with me, I was saying to her, I never win anything. I seriously turned to her and said, I never win anything. The moment the words left my mouth, they called my number. They called my number. And what I won was 3 free months to a gym, to our local gym. And I went, oh my gosh. And I went up, got my prize. Then I remember just days, it may have been just days later, I was in bed, hardly functioning, couldn't get out of bed. And I said, I got that gym membership that I won. I really got to start using it. But I couldn't get myself out of bed. So I tricked myself and I said, Carla, you're just going to do it. You're just going to do it. Like, you're going to. And what I did was, see, the thing is, we get into our heads. Like, we get too much into our heads and we overthink things, right? So instead of overthink the situation and wait for myself to feel ready to go to the gym, I counted. And I did this in my head. I said, okay, I'm going to count to 3. And by the time I counted 3, I'm going to be up and out of this bed. And I didn't think about it. I just went 1, 2, 3, and I threw myself out of bed. And I was like, okay, I'm out of bed. All right. So, and I'm like, yep, you're not going back in that bed now. And I got gym clothes on and I went to the gym. I did it. Went to the gym. Now I had to go in the gym. And once I got to the gym, I don't remember what I did. I mean, I did something, but I don't remember what I did to work out. But I remember leaving the gym going, all right, okay, I did it, right? Now, the next day, or any day after that, guess what? I couldn't use the excuses of, I can't do this, or I just don't have what it takes, or all those excuses. I would yell at myself and be like, Carla, come on, you did it already, you can do it again. I became my own cheerleader. So what happened was, then at the gym, I was seeing people that I knew from the neighborhood, like some, of the moms from school, whatever. So that made it easy too, because then I would start talking with them. And they'd be like, oh, see you tomorrow, Carla. And I'd be like, oh, okay. I started going regularly and getting back into that workout routine, okay, helped me with motivation. Now, motivation, okay, you can't wait till you're ready to be motivated. You can't wait to be ready to do anything to overcome anxiety, okay? You have to do first. If you want to build confidence, build motivation, build confidence, build self-esteem, first you got to do. And then as you see yourself doing it and having even the smallest success, okay? When you see that's what gets you to go, oh, okay, so maybe I can do this. Maybe this is not forever. Maybe I can change my life. So as time went on, okay, and I mean, exercise was my greatest tool to overcome anxiety. For me, once I started exercising, I came off every medication. I was sleeping better. I still had insomnia, but I was sleeping better. I was understanding more why I was experiencing insomnia and how to get myself to talk differently, to be different with what I was experiencing. Like, I was starting to get that, this whole mindset thing. Like, I wasn't understanding that I had to be different in order to get different, right? But the way I was thinking and from the things I was believing, the way I was thinking from the time I was a little girl, all right? You have to remember, I had this fear in me of health, and dying young, and, I didn't have a relationship with God. So, I believed in God, but I didn't have this relationship with Him when I was much younger, right? That came as I was getting older. So I had to change my mindset. I didn't know it was called a mindset, but my attitude in life changed, okay? The things that I expected in life, like this, it has to happen this way, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. All I was doing was making things worse for myself. So I started to expect less and take better care of myself, because as a mom, it was hard to take care of myself, right? But my biggest gift, okay, from God was that I was an at-home mom. My kids went to school and I had 6 hours to do what I had to do before my kids came home and I had to take care of them. So besides taking care of my home and my kids, I was able to find time to take care of myself. I used that time not to lie in bed and dwell on how I feel, not to sit on the couch wishing this to go away. I did years of that. Now was the time to get myself up and going, because my kids were growing older and I was missing out. I wasn't enjoying life with them, and I wanted that so much for myself and for them, of course. And I know that they would be better off, my family would be better off if I was better off. So I made sure that I took care of myself. So my attitude changed, my expectations changed, my beliefs changed, because as I grew my relationship with God, what happened was nobody wants to be sick and nobody wants to die. But I know God in a way, okay, that if it were to happen, I know where I'm going now. I have an idea, okay? I'm not afraid to meet my maker. I'm not ready for it, but I'm not like questioning so much that I used to question, okay? And if I get sick, I now understand, okay? I totally understand when you're sick and you pray, God, please take this from me. I don't like these feelings, and please take all this from me. And then you worry and worry and worry, because I grew up that worry was a way of life, okay? The more you worry, the better life was. This is like the philosophy that I was given. The sun changed, so now like things are changing. So anyway, I probably should change where I'm sitting. I'm gonna just move. Okay. So basically, I grew up with a worry wart. So I was told the more you worry, if you worry, it won't happen. Or if you worry, it just means that you care more about the situation. But I learned with my belief in God that isn't true, okay? God says not to worry, that we are to pray and to trust. We have free will. God's not going to force himself on us. So we can't get down on our knees and beg God to help us and then worry if he's going to do it. Because that we're showing God, well, we don't trust in you. I don't believe that you're going to heal me. If you remember the story in the Bible where the woman touched the hem of Jesus's cloak, okay? She touched, knowing if I just touch his hem, I am going to be healed of this. Now, Jesus didn't turn around and scold her, but he turned around and told her, it is your faith that's going to heal you. If you really believe that just touching my cloak is going to heal you, you're going to be healed. So I was starting to learn that all my prayers, okay, I mean, I was praying and praying, especially that day that I was down on my knees begging God to take my life. I mean, my prayers were getting like more and more personal, more and more, like I was treating God like, I don't know how to say it. I don't want to say my best friend, but like I was telling myself, God's listening to this, right? And if he's going to listen to this, if I talk to my parents and ask my parents about helping me, I don't then sit around and worry, are they going to help me, right? I just believe they will. So why shouldn't I believe that about God, right? And he supposedly loves me more than my parents do, right? So I really got to understanding that we need, or I mean, at the time, like I need to trust in God, that what I'm basically begging him, please take this from me, deliver me from this, that he's going to do it, right? So between growing my relationship with God, learning how to implement all these important tools that I was learning, I eventually, the anxiety started diminishing. I no longer was getting panic attacks. It was just very high anxiety because I was learning about surrender and how to surrender myself to God and also to this anxiety. Like I remember having my last panic attack and I was just like, fine, you know what? You're going to kill me. Just do it now because I'm done with this. I'm tired of you. I'm tired of feeling this way. Okay, fine. Kill me. I was tired of being afraid of it. And I remember a wave of fear going through my body and I never, ever, ever had a panic attack again. And that was many years ago. But I had high anxiety, I had insomnia, and I had depression. So then one day I noticed I wasn't so depressed anymore. But why? Because I had hope. As I was learning to overcome anxiety, as I was seeing myself having more time without anxiety, I started growing in confidence and I had hope. So I wasn't feeling so depressed anymore. Not that my life was back to normal. It wasn't back to normal. But compared to who I was when I was not functioning, I was living life better. So I wasn't feeling so depressed. So now no more panic attacks, no more depression. So eventually, there came a time where I wasn't even feeling anxious anymore. I mean, hardly any anxiety, at least the way I knew it. But I was still not sleeping well. I mean, yes, I was finally sleeping maybe 5 hours a night, no medication, maybe 6 hours a night. But then I would go nights without sleep. And I couldn't understand, how am I going to break this pattern? Then one night, what happened was, again, I couldn't sleep. I mean, I was tired. I put my head on the pillow and I'm like, all right, I never knew from night to night where I was going to get. Put my head on the pillow, trying to, practice all the things I was practicing. Middle of the night, I remember waking up so frustrated. And I guess I sighed out loud, like, ugh. And my husband, I guess, I mean, he's a light sleeper, so I don't know, maybe he wasn't sleeping well. I don't know. But I remember him going, what's the matter? And I said, well, what else could be the matter? You know, it's the same old, same old. I'm not sleeping. And he's like, Carla, you know, only if you want to. And he rolled over and went to sleep. And I was like, only if I want to. And I was like, really? And I had to think about that at first, but it hit me hard. Only if I, and then finally, after like thinking about it, not long, but it hit me and I'm going, wow, that's true. I mean, I can sleep. I mean, I remember sleeping like a baby, sleeping like the dead, as I said in the beginning of this live, you know, like sleeping really long. I can sleep. So I'm just learning, you know, bad sleeping habits, and I'm also allowing this anxiety. You know, this is just another symptom of anxiety. And if I'm not feeling anxiety anymore the way I used to, this is my last symptom, right? This is the last hump in my quest to overcome anxiety. So I understood right there and then, okay, that my sleep anxiety, as long as I expected not to sleep, I was going to keep adrenaline and cortisol surging through my body. Okay? So basically what I had to do was let go of the expectation, let go of outcomes. So my new motto was, if I sleep, I sleep. If I don't, I don't. And I particularly didn't care anymore. Just like my panic attacks. I didn't care if I had a panic attack. It was like, I had a panic attack and I was done. Fine, take me, kill me, I'm done. And I never had a panic attack again. I did the same thing with sleep. Total acceptance. I surrender. If I sleep, I sleep. If I don't, I don't. You know, I mean, I haven't slept well in years. And all the worry and all the anxiety in the world is not going to make me sleep 8 hours every night, right? So what am I doing? So I said, well, if I sleep, I sleep. If I don't, I don't. I'll function. I'll be okay. And I let go of my fear of not sleeping. Eventually, I started to sleep well. And I slept better and better to one day, went a whole week of sleeping anywhere from maybe 5 to 8 hours. And I went, oh, and I knew I was there. It felt awesome. It felt incredibly awesome. So liberating. I was like, I did it. And it was just so awesome. I mean, I still had my days where I would like, I don't know, maybe have 3 hours of sleep, and then I would catch myself going, am I going to sleep tonight? And I'm like, Carla, come on, you know this. You know, don't go down old patterns. Just, you know, I caught myself doing it, and I would get really present because the Bible told me to do it that way. And I would change how I was talking to myself, and I'd just be like, well, if I do, I do, and if I don't, I don't. So there are times, but the thing also, okay, that I didn't realize is that I was in perimenopause, and I never took that into consideration. Not only was I overcoming an anxiety disorder, insomnia, and all that, my body was going through changes also with perimenopause. See, the doctor kept telling me, oh, you're too young for that. I'm too young. What do you mean I'm too young? Because I was now like 45 years old, and I was like, but my mother and my sister were both done by the time they were 50. No, actually, I'm older than my sister. What am I saying? My mother was done by the time she was 50. my sister went into early menopause for physical reasons, any medical reasons, I should say. So anyway, but by the time COVID hit, ladies, I had my life back better than ever. And now it's kind of weird because you're like, COVID. I mean, for many people, that was a horrible, horrible, horrible time. And it was pretty horrible. I mean, it was very horrible. However, not once did I feel anxiety, have a panic attack, feel depressed, have concern. What if I get COVID? What if? I just trusted that whatever was going to happen is going to happen and God's in control. And it was also through COVID, okay? I was on the couch wondering what to do with my life. I'm sitting there going, all right, what am I supposed to do with my life, God? Because my husband was home, my children were home, forced home. They were all working my daughter was still in school, and I'm sitting on the couch. Because I did work. I had my own babysitting business. I cared for kids. But I couldn't do it during COVID. And I wasn't sure where this was going, you know? I mean, there were people saying that, you know, life as we knew it is over, done. So I'm saying, God, what am I supposed to do with my life? And I didn't say it out loud. I said it in my head. And the moment I said it, I'm on my phone and I get this advertisement for a coaching school. And it's weird because at 50 years old, because I was 50 in 2020, you would think I'd be like, you know, I'm not going back to school, right? But I had such a spark in my heart, and I can't explain it any more than that. Like something in my heart told me, you are to do this. And that was God again. The Holy Spirit telling me, you need to do this. And I listened. Like, I didn't even think twice. I literally jumped off the couch, went into where my office is now, and I told my husband, get me a computer. I want a laptop. I'm enrolling in coaching school. And he looked at me like I had two heads, because never did I had a babysitting business, and I was happy with it. I was making good money. And I just thought, oh, I'll go right back to that. But the moment I saw that advertisement, I knew I would never go back to that. And this is what I'm going to do. And I did. And I think within a week to two, I think it was 2 weeks, I started coaching school. And within 2 years, I graduated because I got 2 degrees from it. Not only am I certified as a health coach, I'm also a life coach. So I wasn't always going to do anxiety. But I decided that that's what I wanted to do because that's what I know. That's what I studied. That's what I overcame. So why wouldn't I? So now I have a laptop and I had access to like Facebook and all of that. I mean, I did anyway with my phone, but now I could have a business, right? And, you know, and reach a lot of people. And I used Facebook in a way I never did before. I used it as a business, and I got a group, made my group so that I can reach a lot of people. But I learned that I wanted to work with moms because, I mean, having an anxiety disorder alone was rough. I mean, it was rough. I mean, how do you explain having an anxiety disorder? I mean, I begged God to take my life. That's how bad it was. But being a mom as well, having to take care of my family, I could barely take care of myself, and I got to take care of my family. And I felt so lonely, and I felt like I'm never gonna overcome this, am I? I'm gonna be like this way forever. And I remember how that felt. So after I became a coach, I said, you know what? I'm only going to focus on moms. I'm only going to work with moms. Why? Because I remember how that felt. And there's got to be moms that that field the way I felt. So I wanted to reach out to other moms who are sitting home wondering if they're ever going to experience life better, or if they're ever going to be able to live life again, or if they're going to be riddled with this anxiety forever. Do they have doctors telling them, you'll always have anxiety like the way I was? Or are they always thinking that they're going to always be on medication? So I formed the group to reach as many women as possible, many moms as possible. Because your kids are grown up, or maybe your kids are already grown up, or maybe you got grandchildren. But no matter what stage of life you're in, you're still living. God didn't take you yet. You want to enjoy that life that you have. Every bit of it. Not, well, I still have some good days, but why live a mediocre life? Why? When you can live, even, let's say you have 5 years left. Why wouldn't you want those 5 years to be in total peace and happiness? If you have 20 years left, 30 years left, 40, 50 years left, you get to pick how you experience those years. Only you decide. I had anxiety because of how I was living my life, how I let my beliefs form how I thought. Now I learned that, but I unlearned it. And you can too. Nobody is stuck this way forever. So I'm in the group giving live trainings because I want to bring you that awareness. I want to give you that insight. But the one thing you always hear me say is that you need to implement. Without implementation, you're going to stay stuck. And that's where I needed a lot of help, because it's easy for anybody to tell you what anxiety is. Ladies, you don't have to listen to me. You got all of YouTube, right? You have all those podcasts. How many experts are out there talking about anxiety, right? It's not just me. And I do consider myself an expert, because not only did I experience it, right? I studied it. I didn't go to a school, but I did study it, experience it, and I overcame it. I'm hearing other people talk about anxiety, saying how they're still dealing with their anxiety and how they're helping thousands to overcome it, which kind of worries me, because how can you help other people overcome anxiety if you're still experiencing it? You can't help what you don't know. You can't overcome it if you haven't overcome it yourself. I overcame it. And if I do feel any anxiety in my life, I know exactly how to deal with it. I lost both my parents within a year, 13 months of one another. I lost 2 parents in 24, 25. This has not been a great, and I'm going to start crying, okay? So I get very emotional about it, because the holidays are coming, and now I got to go through this holiday with neither of my parents. But I'm going to tell you right now, ladies, if I didn't know what I know, there's no way I would have been able to get through this. No way. I am at a point in my life, like, I don't wonder, can I go cope with this? Can I deal with this? Is the anxiety going to come back? What am I going to do? I don't have to ask those questions anymore, because I already know. So when I work with you, okay, whether I work with you professionally, as my paying client, or I'm working with you here in the group, talking to you live, My goal is to really help you understand what anxiety is and why you experiencing it. I want you to understand you have control and you can overcome this. You have it in you. It is well within your soul. And to never give up. Never, ever, ever, ever give up. I saw somebody post, it came up in my feed, in my personal feed. Somebody in another anxiety group posted this. You know, I'm tired of people telling me that I'm responsible for how I feel. And that I can overcome anxiety, or that I'm sorry, I'm not saying it exactly the way they said it, but like, I'm tired of people telling me that like I'm responsible for how I feel, and that I'm responsible for those like anxiety feelings. And I'm thinking to myself, I know why this person's stuck. I know exactly why she's stuck. See, the thing is, ladies, and none of us want to know this. None of us feel good hearing this, because the first time I heard this, I was pissed off. Because I was in pain. I was suffering. And how dare you tell me that I'm responsible for how I'm feeling? How dare you tell me that I'm having panic attacks and I'm not sleeping and I'm depressed because of me? Because if you knew my life, you would take that back. Guess what, ladies? It was all true. The moment I took responsibility, the moment I understood that nobody can make me sad, angry, anxious, or anything unless I give them permission. I don't care. I mean, I shouldn't say I don't care, all right? I care a lot. But what I'm saying is, how about it doesn't matter if you're in a bad marriage. Doesn't matter if you have financial issues. Doesn't matter if you have a health problem, a health issue. Doesn't matter if you're grieving at the loss of a loved one. You are still responsible for who you're being in any given moment. That's not easy to hear. Because you want to say, excuse me, I mean, my husband's abusive, or I just lost my parents, or I just, I understand we're all going through things that are pretty harsh. This life is not easy to live. But ladies, you are responsible for who you're being. Because it is very, very true to say, it's realistic that you and I can go through the same circumstances in life. You can get depressed about it. And I can let it pass and go on with my life. But yet we went through the same thing. So that just proves that you do have control. God gave us control of our thinking. He gave us control of how we're feeling, okay? And who we're being in any given moment. We make that decision. I actually heard another anxiety expert say that all those things, anybody saying that you have control of your thoughts doesn't understand anxiety. I don't know why that person would say that, because thinking has a lot to do with who you're being right now. Your negative thoughts, okay, your way of thinking, thinking has so much to do, okay? Your mindset has so much to do with who you are right now and who you're being in this world. Ladies, I came on today because I wanted to tell you about my experience with anxiety in my life, specifically what I did to overcome it, and how I'm taking that to help you overcome. It is up to you to decide if you want to listen, if you want to take what I'm saying to heart. There's no way I could have overcome this if what I'm saying were not true. I'm living a life that I never thought I'd ever live, that I'd ever see. I only wish, okay, at 55 years old, I wish that I could go back to that 11-year-old girl, and I'm going to start crying, and give her a hug, and tell her not to worry, that life is so much better than what I imagined, what I was told life is supposed to be, from my parents and all the people that were around me. And I'm just hoping that, you're given a special gift because you have me and you have anyone else that you're listening to help you get through this. And I wish I had that, but I didn't. But that's okay. I did get through it. And God gave me the gift of bringing all you ladies into my life so that I can help you, take you by the hand, and guide you through this. So with that said, ladies, I thank you for listening to me today. And I just hope that 2026 is your year to overcome. Because ladies, come on, if you've been like this for years, I know you have it within you. Watch All My Lives, because I believe in everything that I say. And I know some of you might be like, well, it worked for you. It doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. But what I'm saying is also backed up by science, okay? And I don't know anyone who told me I formed my relationship with God, I trust in God, and he refuses to help me. Or, the moment I started trusting in God and surrendering to God, I couldn't overcome this. Because if you're telling me you're trusting in God and you still haven't overcome, I'm going to ask you certain questions, and I am very sure that you're still not trusting. Until I work with you, I'm not going to be 100% sure, but I know that there is some kind of belief, something keeping you stuck. And ladies, that's why I am doing this promotion in the group this week as incentive to help you ladies, to make it easier on your ladies to work with me so that I can help you over this hump and get you through this. And I have 2 programs that I perfect as time goes on. The programs, like even if you were someone who worked with me in the past, I have taken each program to a different level. I keep improving and tweaking because I am not going to give up ever until I know that what I'm doing, I know what I'm doing is helping, but I mean, I've been a coach with these programs. I think I've had them active for 3 years now. Well, my newest one I've only did, it's not even a year. But my science anxiety solution I've been doing for actually 4 years now. And I have not changed my prices. I mean, other people are telling me other coaches charge 10 grand, 8 grand to work with them. Listen, I just want you to get better. And I need to be paid to spend that time with you. Um, but implementation is very important, and that's what my goal is to help you with that implementation and to help you understand why what you're doing is not working and to change those beliefs that are maybe keeping you stuck. So you have my 2 programs and you have all my live trainings. My programs, yeah, they're a little bit, I mean, they're better because I'm there to help you with implementation. But between the live trainings and the programs, my wish for you is to break free. Break free from that anxiety cycle and live that life that you always have dreamed of living. Don't stop wishing that you want to be who you used to be. Stop saying I want to be my old self. You don't want to be her. You want to have a different mindset and be a better version of who you were. I know I'm not my old self. I am a much better version of who I used to be. I respect that person who I used to be. I understand why I went through everything I went through. I used to question that, but now I know why I went through everything I went through. I lacked so much awareness. I didn't know anything about anxiety, and until I studied it, everything became crystal clear. No wonder I went through that. So now when I experience things, when things happen in my life, I don't go, how am I going to get through this? How? And what am I going to do? I know exactly what to do. So with that said, I also want to announce there will be no more live trainings until the new year. Because Christmas and New Year's Day land on Thursdays. So that makes sense, right? And yes, I could do it another day. But, I mean, I'm going to have my family around me. I am taking the time to be with my family. My clients, I will still meet with them. And I'm still here to answer any questions. You'll still see me posting in the group. But there will be no live trainings until next year. So with that said, I wish you a very Merry Christmas. I don't even know you all. I mean, but I've grown so fond of this group. I love every single one of you. I can't express the love I have for each and every one of you. And I thank you so much for following me, trusting in me, showing up, and supporting me as a coach. So that allowing me to have this group, because without you, I would not have a group. So thank you. And I pray for you every single day. And I will always keep you in my prayers and my wishes for you to have a beautiful Christmas. And I'm wishing you all the best in the new year. Much healing, transformation, and Godspeed. Be well. And I'll see you in the new year, okay? I'll see you in the group. Be well. Bye.